feels sort of quite normal in a funny way. I feel that we've been in Thailand together on various occasions over the years. I get a little confused about what year it is. I think the last time we were here was 2018 together.
Right. For the channel, and then you
Yes.
went to the film archive.
That's
and
right. That's what I remember.
That's great memory. And before that, Film on the Rock
Yeah.
in the south, we did a festival together, a film festival.
In Hanoi.
So
What year was that?
2000, I would say 11.
Okay.
Yeah.
I believe you.
10 or 11.
I have no memory of the dates.
That's how we
10
operate.
years
like,
ago. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, we have a funny situation, which is that neither of us can remember when we first met.
Tilda always said, refer to the first time she met my film, Tropical Malady, in Cannes. That's 2004.
Yeah.
And for me, I honestly don't remember. I met her in London, I guess, in a hotel lobby. We were talking. That's the first encounter after, I think I read your text of Tropical Malady that you written for your son.
And you wrote to me, I think, after that.
Yes, yes.
So that was the first connection between us. So I met Joe through Tropical Malady. Then I saw all his films. So I continued my relationship with him. And then I wrote something about Tropical Malady, which he read and wrote back. Through Tony Raines, maybe, or somebody.
Maybe, yeah.
And then we met in the flesh. But it's funny that the meeting in the flesh was less important in a way. We already had met. And I think even before then, we had, in our correspondence, we had talked about making something together, making work together.
So it's kind of like sort of a pen pal. Right?
Yeah, a pen pal, exactly.
Through cinema, and for me, I always have met her, but in my imagination, and about this film, what could it be? What could, and then we made a film festival together, so we get to know a little bit more about her over the years, and it helped me, to dream about Memoria, so in a way, Memoria has been long in the making of these years.
Well, I would say it started with this agreement to make something together. And we always referred to it as our adventure. At the beginning of every year, we would say Happy New Year, and we would say, is this the year of our adventure? We did that for 17 years, 17 times. And we just always knew that it was going to be about us, and it was going to grow out of our conversation. It wasn't going to be me coming to Thailand and being inside an already existing world that Joe knew well, or him coming to something I knew. We knew that we were going to be going together on a transport.
Yeah, for me, I was in Cartagena, the north of Colombia, for a film festival in 2017, and then I had the chance to travel around, and during that time I was so inspired, and I wrote notes and sketches and then script, and then I wrote to her, I think I found the country. I just feel comfortable there, I just feel there's some kind of disorderly feelings like in Thailand, and there's so many wonderful people, who share stories with me, in many cities. And also the memory, the idea of memory is very important. They have a long history of traumas and hardship with the military, with drugs. And I'm curious about the way they deal with it. While as in Thailand, we don't. We just push it under the rug. And for them, they try to confront it. And it's a very difficult process. And that inspired me. I want to know more.
Well, it's interesting because the more I think about it and the more people ask questions like that one, I feel like searching for a country that isn't similar. I feel that the similarities between all countries are actually more prevalent than not. I mean, I come from Scotland, which in many ways, is on a different equatorial line, but the whole relationship between a sort of resonance of trauma, of inherited violence, is absolutely there. We are just about to have another referendum in the next years, I'm sure, for our independence. Again, hundreds and hundreds of years of the same conversation. My family comes from the border country in Scotland, and it's absolutely blood-soaked. This whole sense of the resonance of trauma. I can't think of a country. I mean, maybe what they call younger countries. I don't even know that a country can be young in violence. There's always going to be some history of suppression and history of trauma. The question is how the contemporary culture deals with it. And so there are, as Joe says, there are some similarities in terms of the bruise, but it's the contemporary ability to be honest about it that's maybe different. I mean, the United States of America, I suggest, is a country that is maybe less honest about the bruises that have been inflicted through the centuries. So, I'm curious about how a country can be different to this. And maybe this explains why Memoria is having a sort of kinetic connection with people all around the world. Not just because of what it tells about the actual narrative of its own journey, but that people instinctively recognize this bruise in their own country, wherever it is.
And it can be quite liberating. I mean, for me, to aware of the traumas and just to embrace it, and just to aware that it's universal, and and it integrates in our DNA from our grandmother, grandfathers, and it's all connected. There's no borders. It was originated from my own sound, my problem with this bang in the morning, and it's so particular that I cannot explain, and maybe that's one of the reasons I want to make the film, because it's about trying to translate this to share, but it's impossible. So like the scene that Tilda is with Ernan, it's like that. In the end, it's close, but it's not. Yeah, but so we represent with this one giant sound that designed by the two sound designers. From different kind of sound effect combined into.
It's actually a very core conversation that we have a lot. Sleep. We're both very interested in sleep. We both have a certain relationship over the years with sleeplessness. We're both very, very invested in dreams and our relationships. One of the core sort of bonds between us is the way we speak of our dreams and the way we speak of cinema as a dream. And when we suffer from insomnia, which both of us occasionally do, I mean, I would say this week I would say it's about jet lag, but you're not jet lagged. You're from Chiang Mai.
For me, it's about the release and also the excitement. I mean, it's not only the negative
geography,
stress, but also just to see you, to see the friends from Colombia coming. I'm so excited, and keep me awake.
Being overstimulated. I've not suffered from the same sort of insomnia that Joe has, but I really love sleep. I really value it, and so if I'm unable to sleep even for one night, I'm very confused, because it's really my drug, sleeping. I love it. And I feel very deprived. So what do? I meditate, but then sometimes meditation can be quite stimulating.
I agree.
Sometimes it's too stimulating. You get too involved and interested. I don't know. Getting very tired is the best. It was an extraordinary moment because I mean, we made this film 2 years earlier. We hoped to bring it to Cannes the year before. And we were very grateful to have been bumped along to finally premiere it in 21. And my sense last year in Cannes was that in any case, the audience was so open and so grateful and so relieved to be back in that beautiful big hall with this amazing screen, with this extraordinary sound system. And so this sense of gratitude was there anyway in the festival. But I believe that that ovation was a particular debt of gratitude being paid to this film. I always believed, I think we all believed that the audience was going to be ready for Memoria, but the pandemic kind of softened the audience's ears in a way to be even more hungry, thirsty for it than it might have been the year before. So my sense was that ovation was really about a sense of gratitude for exactly what this film brings.
For me, even though I've seen it before, for the test and of sound, in Thailand I saw the film on a big screen, but with 5 people, 10 people. But to be in Cannes with thousands, it changed the film.
Yeah.
And it's like I saw the film for the first time, and with Tilda, with the team, with other cinema professionals. And I feel like she said, it's a celebration. It's like the first movie again that we saw as when we were young, and there's a sense of freedom in it, and also surprise of seeing my own film. It's almost like someone else made it, really. When there's a ovation, I feel like it's as if not for me, but also for me in the past, us in the past, in creating this light. And it feels so, I don't know, it's refreshing again, like rebirth of cinema. Yeah.
And I think the film, we've been fortunate to see it in already a number of different time zones. We saw it in Colombia, we saw it in Cannes, we saw it in New York, I saw it in London. One thing that's similar, even though the film of course keeps changing, is the audience seems to do a similar thing, which is to just open up and almost not breathe for nearly 2 hours. And then when it's over, it's as if they're changed because of the experience of being so attentive and being so held almost on one toe in a group of maybe hundreds. And so I suppose that in itself, that experience, that collective experience, everybody being so still. I've never heard an audience be so still for a piece of work. So I think it's an experience as much as it is a film. It's a really tricky question because what you suggest is that the audience will be able to see the film, will be able to experience the film on a screen this size. And I wonder if they will really be able to see it. They'll get something. I mean, it's not a piece of work that is, as so many pieces of cinema are, very much invested in its narrative, for example. It's not about working out the plot only. It's not. You see a film on the back of an aeroplane seat this size. I don't know if you'd be able to see Memoria like that. I don't know that if you would get anything. It might be a waste. It might just be awful. It might be Memoria is really bad. Why? It's bad because it doesn't give you anything. Well, what size of a screen did you see it on? No, it can't give you anything on this side of the screen. So it's a tricky question because, as you may know, in America, Neon has released the film only in cinemas, one cinema at a time. And this is a very very brave decision on their part. And for my money, I think that it's an incredibly inspiring decision because it dignifies cinema as much as dignifying our film. It reminds people at this moment that there is a reason to buy a ticket in advance and put it on the front of your fridge and mark it off on your calendar, like going to a rock concert. Make an event of it and go in 3 months' time. There's a reason for big cinema. But, maybe it needs to be explained to people that we're not being mean with the film when we do that. We're actually trying to really deliver it, not just waste it.
Yes, for Thailand, I've been discussing with the Thai producer here about, the streaming afterwards, and it's like Tilda says, quite tricky, because for my producer, they formed this entity called Common Move, and Memoria is one of that project that would go along with other independent films, not only from Thailand but also our neighbor countries. The goal is to make them available in cinema. But as you know, the streaming service is so powerful, but it's really a way also to reach other people. But how do we communicate about the big screen experience? And that the availability of them on streaming is also allow us the fun to be able to promote and also to make a big screen experience possible. So that's kind of really tricky. How do we do and how do we communicate, like Tilda said, like, hey, this is some film is really operate on the big screen. Yeah. So maybe it's about the longer kind of period of wait before we release that, or we also have simultaneous release like on the big screen again, because you talk about event. We talk about sound event before the film, remember? So it could be rejuvenate Memoria in maybe 6 months from now in the big screen in a different form, for example. So
it's a very big question because it's way beyond one film, this question. In any case, those of us who love big cinema have been looking for ways to encourage an audience not to forget big cinema, not to say, oh yeah, I've seen it. I saw it on the end of my bed last night. I don't need to go to the cinema to see it. Or for distributors to say, we don't need to distribute it in the cinemas because we're streaming it. And I think, the Memoria question, it's an opportunity to just reboot people's faith in the value, the particular value of cinema event as an event. And there will be other films coming down the line that will need this kind of attention. I always go back to our relationship with recorded music, that, all of us, in the days when we bought CDs, now people, or even on Spotify or wherever, you get to know an album, you get to know a band through your earphones maybe, and you love it. But when that band comes to your town, do you say, oh, I'm not going to go and see the gig because I know the music? No. You're going to go because that's something different. And in fact, you're probably even more likely to go. So if we could build up this kind of relationship between streaming and big cinema, great, then streaming is doing something for big cinema. But what we don't want is for streaming to just eclipse big cinema and the audience and the distributors to forget about it. Well, it's an environment. I would suggest that this is true of all pure cinema, but Joe's cinema, every frame is an environment, and it's an invitation to us to be in front of that environment. And this is one of the great values of these long takes. You are looking at some roofs in a town in the hills in Colombia, and a bird comes in. And it stays there. And there's a tree over here. And then another bird comes in. And you want to be with them. You want to see what happens. You want to to feel the rhythm of the frame. Now, again, there's only so much of that you can see on a screen this big. And so I would suggest that that environment of nature, whether it's out in the country or whether it's in the city, is very important to the experience of the film.
Yeah, for me it's a privilege to share, to have the film as if a device to stop time or a device to simulate the way we, let's say, walk in the jungle, in a natural environment, and to breathe and to just look, you know, and then you realize like, oh, just that we don't have to think, we just be, and not many films do this, and I think it's a challenge also for us, our team, yeah, and I'm for me, Memoria worked that way, yeah. My home.
Yeah.
That's another thing.
Can't wait.
Another mission.
Yeah.
เชียงใหม่ครับ Yeah.
Why Chiang Mai?
It's my second home, and I feel like cinema is maybe first home, and this is second one. I live in the mountain area in Memoria, and then every year I keep planting at least 1 or 2 trees. So over the years we have many of them around the houses and also the dogs. And yeah, just that home and home enveloped by nature.
I like to put my baby elephant trunk onto the back of Joey's tail, and I want him to take me. And it's so interesting what you say about trees and dogs, because I cannot wait for him to come to my home in Scotland for the same reason, my trees and my dogs. Well, I want to take him to where I live. I just want him to be able to rest there. I want him to say, yeah, I'll be here for months. I just want to provide that for him.
I think we share our love for cinema and for dogs, and you know, and I just have this like, thinking that it relates to sleep as well for me, because I sleep much better with my dog in bed, and then I just touch him and okay, let's dream together, and that you know, better than any pill.
I wouldn't dream of giving anybody any advice ever, and certainly not actors. I don't really know. I don't identify as an actor myself, so I don't know if someone does identify as an actor. I'm not equipped to know what they might be interested in, but I would suggest always that, as Joe says, that we look for our point of deepest relaxation, that whatever really relaxes us and makes us feel connected and authentic and with a lack of artifice or effort, that's gold, and that's where our instincts live. And so I can maybe speak for performers, that's the river to look for, is one's true sense of relaxation, but also to take no advice from anybody.